You gotta explain what's copium.
Copium. Copium is a mix between a marriage of two words, cope and opium. Part of it went into funding that project. Another part of it went into aping into NFTs lead.
Is there any advice you would want to give our viewers if they are new to blockchain? Like, is there a tip? Will you ask them to read an article? Where should they start?
I think most people should start on.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is our third episode of the Promisphere Fireside chat. With me, I have my partner Jared, and today we have a special guest, Mr. CTO Wai.
Hi guys.
Last episode we spoke about Illuvium with one of our other streamers, which is Marcus. And today we actually wanted to go really deep into the more technical stuff, and who better to do it than, of course, our own CTO. So today we're going to unravel the mystery, because blockchain is a word that has been out in the market for like ages, but do we really understand what the meaning of blockchain is, and how does this enable the whole play to earn gamefi space, right? So without ado, we have a list of questions that we want to ask today, and let's just get into it. So, Mr. CTO,
Yes, boss.
what is blockchain?
Okay, I tried to explain it a lot of times to friends and my girlfriend, and I think most of the time people fall asleep. So I'll try again. So I think blockchain is we can think of it like this giant database dump, right? So I like to think of it like this huge, immutable library of history and records that our future generation can archive and study for eternity. So there are various times in history where knowledge and culture were destroyed forever due to the actions of certain individuals. And I imagine people today would be more enlightened if those records stood till today and people knew where they came from. So the blockchain could potentially become this giant source of truth if data source is clean and verifiable. You know how if rubbish goes in, rubbish comes out? And that's why I feel it's really hard to decouple blockchain from things like token economics and identity.
Okay, so I think it's an interesting thing. I've never really heard anyone explain in this manner. So what you're saying is, if theoretically, if we had blockchain like from the very beginning of time, we could potentially see how even the Big Bang happened.
Yes.
And that would be enlightening, right?
Yep.
Because then we would have really some reference. I mean, everyone has a different theory of how the world came to be. But I'm guessing starting from blockchain, at least 1,000 years from now, people will know how it originated from because of this technology. Okay, that's interesting. How do you get into blockchain then? Like, what was your inroad in?
It started in 2016. So in 2016, I remember I started reading up about it when China banned blockchain.
Okay.
And I think back then it was like the second or third time already.
Yeah.
And we all know it happened a few more times
Yeah.
after that, right? Yeah. So back then I looked into the technology. I personally came from a finance background. I was always curious as to what caused the 2008 financial crisis. Read into the Bitcoin white paper and what decentralized technology stood for. It just clicked for me. It just totally made sense. That was when I first bought Bitcoin and started looking into other chains like Ethereum, right?
So 2016, that's about 6 years ago.
Yeah, 6 years now.
How do you think blockchain then versus now has evolved? I mean, there are many components that came out, right? Is there any particular experience that that hits you?
I think definitely user adoption has increased a lot. I think in terms of people knowing about the technology, it has also increased a lot.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that hasn't really improved from my personal experience is the user experience of onboarding.
Right. Yeah.
So if you're not a techie or digitally savvy, it's going to be a bit tough for you, right? You probably need someone who has done it before to handhold.
Yeah, to be fair, there are a lot of different kind of steps to take. from the converting of it to finding out which chains compatible with what wallet and all these things.
Yep.
It's not easy to actually get into crypto and blockchain gaming for that matter. It takes a bit of time.
Yeah.
And I think if someone can solve that, that would hopefully bring on the masses adoption wise. I think another interesting thing to ask also is kind of so the technology obviously maybe has changed a little bit, but more interestingly, what kind of a use case? People talk about DeFi summer and GameFi kind of came after that. So what kind of maybe we can briefly talk through kind of like from 2016 when you entered the space, what kind of like what's the progression in terms of use case? What have we seen?
So when I entered the space, Bitcoin was used essentially as like a speculative asset, right? The narrative behind it is always the Fed is printing too much money, it's going to cause fiat to hyperinflate, and therefore use Bitcoin as a store of value. But we don't really see it play out. I see various copium kind of narratives around why.
You gotta explain what's copium.
Copium. Copium is a mix between a marriage of two words, cope and opium. The idea behind it is essentially like you got to take some kind of external thing to help you cope with the situation.
Right.
So there are some narratives around how like the market front runs the Fed. And therefore, we are anticipating the Fed to reverse their easy monetary policy, and therefore Bitcoin is going down, right? But I don't really see it as like it playing out the way the narrative wants it to play out.
Right.
Yeah. So it started there. Then like with the rise of Ethereum, what we saw was ICOs, right? For the first time, you could publicly list your project. Right, in the open market, have the price of your project dynamically reflected, right, in like a open public exchange style, right, and that really drove the value of Ethereum and other blockchains up by a lot during the 2017 bull run, which ended in 2018, right. Then I think back then there was actually already NFTs. CryptoKitties was one of those that blew up. But even before that, there were already NFTs. It's just that the use case didn't proliferate because people didn't understand it.
Yeah,
I see.
Right. So I think it's kind of like a rabbit hole. You first enter through because the thing is going up, and those who like decide to learn more about the technologies and want to chase the rabbit down the rabbit hole, they will eventually get exposed to even more things. And I think those who stay will reap some of the rewards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the topics we wanted to discuss, but we thought might be more appropriate for you to share is that how do you think or why is the reason blockchain actually enabled a part of GameFi and play to earn?
Right. I think like the buying of and selling of game assets, and I think Stanley would know best, right? And accounts has been going on for the longest time ever. Right, it's not something new. I think the introduction of blockchain tokens, whether is it NFTs or fungible tokens, play-to-earn tokens, just allows assets to be traded in an open and more transparent manner. But considering things that unfolded, I'm not sure whether transparent we've reached transparency yet.
We are hoping.
Yeah, we're hoping to.
With hopium.
And
I guess you don't know what it means.
Yeah, so this makes game assets a lot more liquid than it previously was, right? And more people other than gamers themselves might want to hold on to these assets or collect them. Another area which I see blockchain enables gaming is in the co-creation of intellectual property, which I think right now could potentially allow fans a share of the profits in the fan art that they create for the game. So this I really think is groundbreaking and can potentially create a brand new economy for creators.
So with that in mind, I want to ask an honest question. From the start of 2016 to now, the U100X.
No, but it's in the multiple tens.
Multiple tens.
Multiple tens.
So from the start of 2016, you have, let's say, 1 Bitcoin as an example.
Yeah.
Has that Bitcoin become like 50 Bitcoins?
So you cannot measure it like that.
Okay.
In terms of fiat, you should measure it in terms of fiat.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Like I know a lot of people say stack satoshis.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't really do the odd to Bitcoin flip.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. What are some of the interesting tokens that have enabled that?
Definitely Ethereum and Bitcoin it usually leads the charge.
Yeah.
I totally missed DeFi summer because when I was first exposed to DeFi in 2018, I thought it was a Ponzi.
I see.
Well,
Yeah. So I
yeah.
totally did not look into DeFi summer. I only came back looking into the space when NFTs was blowing up, and I was really curious as to why were people buying.
Which year was that?
2021
Last
start
year.
of the year. So like I didn't exactly leave the space. I was working on this other decentralized technology called self-sovereign identity and verifiable credentials. They can up to the choice of the user use on the blockchain or not, right? But the idea of it, it shares the same ethos of the blockchain in terms of like decentralization and all
Right.
that. Yeah.
So, what do you decide to do with that multiple X?
So I tried starting my own NFT trading card game project.
Okay.
Right. So part of it went into funding that project. The other things that another part of it went to aping into NFTs lit. Right. And another part of it is still like holding it long term.
Holding it long term.
Yeah.
Is there any advice you would want to give our viewers if they are new to blockchain? Like, is there a tip where you ask them to read an article? Where should they start? You know, a lot of people, I think there's a lot of barriers. It's like a wall of information.
It's overwhelming. I'm sure it must be overwhelming, and it's no surprise. It's a new space, but there's a lot of different things going on.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up.
How do you recommend they start?
Yeah. I think most people should start on YouTube. I think videos is the simplest way to consume information for me, right? Because you get the visual aspect, you get the audio aspect, right? But along the way, you find a lot of content creators are just actually shilling projects, and that's where I think it's important to mix what you gather from other people in terms of their opinions to really reading up on your own, right? Facts, right? Try and look at things from first principles and try and think critically whether whatever someone's saying is true or it's just something that he's trying to put out there for his own personal interest. I think like if you can do that, I think you will be able to sieve out the noise and then start to have higher conviction on the projects that you choose to put your money in. Yeah.
I think it's true. If you're watching this video, you probably stumbled not across blockchain itself, but some projects that use blockchain or crypto technology in it. And if you are wondering at this point of time whether there are still good projects, because in this very moment we are speaking about, there's been going a lot in the whole crypto industry. Please do your own due diligence, of course. But we want to say that we have seen some good use cases so far, right? I cannot spell every one of them out here, but in ratio to that, I think there are more scammy projects, because for one good project you see that there are probably like 100, 200 projects out there to just take your money at this moment. That's what I believe, at least. Before you make any purchases, please do your own research. We actually wanted to talk about, like, in blockchain, I think there are different components. Like in blockchain there is DeFi, there is gamefi, there is your self-sovereign identity, but there are actually some interesting use cases that I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but one of our other partners has spoken of before. Are you familiar with the way medical uses blockchain?
Medical use cases?
Yeah. Maybe you could share some of those. I think those are interesting to share.
I'm not very deep into the medical field, but back then, one of the use cases of verifiable credentials is in exporting your medical records.
Yep.
Right. So for those who know, like, it's extremely hard to export your medical records, especially in Singapore, because your medical records actually don't belong to you.
Yeah.
It belongs to MOH or the hospital. So like it's very hard to get your doctor to get him to
Send you.
get it out,
Yeah.
right? Because not yours. So other than that, I don't know. But if you have some, you can share.
Okay. So I think there are some projects in the world. So blockchain, aside all the speculative components, GameFi and DeFi, which is the monetary upside kind of area, I heard from a friend that how blockchain could be adapted for this is that, imagine today if you go, I'm Singaporean and I go to Australia and I got into an accident. For the doctor to receive or give me medicine, first they have to find out the allergies that I have. But I may not know all the allergies that I have because these records are kept locally, right? But what if one day blockchain, because one of the key reasons why it's done like that is for privacy reasons. But what if one day, if you have some form of like access or key, which only at that point of time the doctor could access, and it can verify that it's you, so that he can administer the right medicine. I think that's actually good use case of the technology that's probably less popular or seen in the space. So I think this is taking into part the whole the whole reason for why blockchain existed. Much less for the monetary.
Yeah. So if you look at that, it's actually like not just medical. It's really about your identity being part of something that that follows you, right?
Correct.
Which actually now it already happens, right? Because like previously, like in the Web 2 world, what happened was like a lot of these systems are getting hacked.
Yeah.
With just username and password, and they introduce something called 2FA.
Yeah.
Or now it's like there are things like multiple FAs.
Yep.
Right. And the idea behind it is you need something else other than your username and your password to prove your identity. It needs to be like maybe something that you're holding on to, like your phone, right? So like in the instance of mobile phone OTP, your mobile number is actually represents you, right?
Correct.
Right. And there are other things like Google's authenticator and all that.
Yeah.
What is one of the use cases in your mind, if you have like for the best, one of the good use cases you see for blockchain that has not been explored widely yet? Maybe like it's been explored but not to the masses.
Or something that interests you particularly.
You're asking me to pick the next alpha, is it?
That is what we're all about, guys.
I think in a lot of ways, right? Like a lot of the technologies that governments are putting out, in terms of like passport, when you travel in Singapore, I'm not sure about other countries. Like when you travel out of the country and back into the country nowadays is all digital. Right?
Correct. Yep.
Like I think the world will be a lot more seamless if there is just one giant public shared database. But of course, this database must have some form of encryption, so that not any Tom, Dick, or Harry can just look into who's in it, right? But it will be a lot more efficient. Like imagine, let's say if you like to change citizenships, if it can be done on the blockchain, it's just like a matter of minutes, seconds even. Yeah, so a lot of those things will be very, very interesting going forward as we see. I think the young people today they think of themselves more as global citizens and not so much part of one country or one national identity. Yeah. And it'll be like I would love to see some of these solutions, like new sovereign states coming out. So
like secondary identity and something like that.
Yeah.
Like primary Singapore. I don't know what's your other. Secondary Amsterdam maybe.
In fact, in fact, I know people who are working on this and really exciting.
That's the only alpha we can give you. Sorry, you have to do your own research for that. That's the only thing we can share about.
So you've heard a lot about how what blockchain technology is. We even have a brief history of it and how it's developed over the past couple of years. I guess the next question would be, how is Promisphere leveraging blockchain technology to provide value?
Right. So currently at the current stage, Promisphere is using blockchain only for two specific use cases. So firstly, it is used for payments, right, using cryptocurrencies. And the reason why we all know is I think fiat on and off ramp has been quite messy. I think regulators are still spending time trying to like find their way through this mess, right? So I think that's one use case. And another one is in terms of delegation of NFT assets for our scholars, so that we can share the yield that they make in some of the play to earn games.
Right.
So but for the future, we have this very exciting project that's upcoming called Project Arcana. So please follow our Twitter page somewhere. What this does, Project Arcana, is essentially we want to build this gamer's identity that all gamers can rally under on the blockchain. And what we hope for it to be is this openly indexable records of gamers and their backgrounds and their achievements to be found and easily found on a platform, right? And what then can happen for these gamers is economic opportunities that was never before enabled can now be possible. So, for example, like a game company might be looking for like a streamer to stream one of the newer games, and they can go on to the platform to look for this particular gamer that suits the profile. So yeah, I don't think I can review more, but yeah, that's the general gist of what we're trying to do.
Very interesting.
So I don't think I can share any more than that. But yeah, look forward to that project.
So guys, don't worry. In the next episode, we will share more about Arcana, its founding of its lore, its purpose and utility, and what it means for gamers. We have two very special guests who will be joining us. One is the person who came up with the lore with me, and the other is our branding consultant as well. Be sure to check them out in the next episode. And for this week, once again thank our CTO for taking his time off coding. His hands can finally take a break and his mouth can suddenly start talking.
Yeah.
And of course, it's my usual partner, Jared.
Thank you.
See you in the next episode.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'd love to hear your thoughts around what you think of blockchain technology. And see you in the next episode.